In the quiet suburbs, where family ties bind like invisible chains, Maya Collins has long navigated the delicate dance of love and loyalty, her heart guarded against the subtle barbs that erode her peace. Whispers of doubt from a cherished relative have woven doubt into her days, threatening the harmony she fights to preserve for her husband and home. Yet tonight, as old memories stir like embers in the hearth, she senses a turning point approaching, a moment where silence might shatter or set her free. I sit in the dim glow of my living room, the kind of light that softens edges but sharpens memories. I sit in the dim glow of my living room, the kind of light that softens edges but sharpens memories. My fingers trace the frayed edges of the old family photo frame on the mantel, wood splintered at the corners, holding a snapshot from years ago. All of us clustered around the dinner table, smiles wide and uncomplicated. Back then, those evenings felt like anchors, pulling us into the warmth of shared plates and laughter echoing off the suburban walls. I remember the scent of Aunt Isabella's rosemary chicken wafting through the air, how we'd pass the bowl hand to hand, voices overlapping in easy chatter about school plays or neighborhood gossip. The table was a circle of safety, or so it seemed. Leo's jokes landing just right, Julian's quiet nods keeping the rhythm steady. We'd linger over dessert, forks scraping plates, the illusion of unbreakable bonds wrapping around us like a well-worn quilt. No one raised voices, no shadows crept in, just us, together, the family we'd always been. But even in those moments, a faint unease stirred, like a draft you can't quite place. Isabella's compliments would linger a beat too long. "Maya, you're so lucky to have such a patient husband. Not everyone could handle your independent streak." Her eyes twinkling with what I took for affection. I'd smile back, heat rising in my cheeks, dismissing it as nothing. The photo captures that exact instant. My laugh, frozen, genuine on the surface, while something unspoken tugged at the threads beneath. Now, holding the frame, the cracks in the glass catch the light, spiderwebbing out from the center. Nostalgia fades into something sharper, a wariness that coils in my chest. Were those dinners ever truly safe? Or was the harmony just a veil, thin and fraying? What hides behind the smiles when the room falls silent and no one dares to name the chill? The dining room light hung low, casting long shadows over the polished oak table where laughter should have flowed like the wine. But it didn't. Not really. I remember that night, the air thick with the scent of roasted chicken and unspoken barbs, as we sat around the table, me, Julian, the kids, Aunt Isabella, and a scattering of cousins like Leo, who fidgeted with his napkin like it held secrets. Isabella leaned forward, her smile a perfect crescent, eyes twinkling with that feigned warmth she wielded like a scalpel. "Maya, darling, you've done wonders with the table. Such a lovely spread. Reminds me of how my sister used to host back in the day. She always knew just how to make everyone feel included." Her voice dipped, honeyed concern threading through. She glanced at my daughter, Sophie, who was pushing peas around her plate, then back to me. "Of course, with kids these days, it's harder, isn't it? I see how Emily's little ones are so poised already. Must be all that structure. You're managing, though, aren't you? With the chaos of young ones pulling you every which way." The words landed soft, like petals, but they stung. Julian's hand brushed mine under the table, a quiet anchor, his thumb tracing a steady circle. I forced a polite nod, my fork scraping the plate a fraction too loud. Internally, I seethed. Structure? As if her Advice, at every turn, isn't the chaos. But I smiled, murmured, "We're doing fine, Aunt Izzy. Sophie's just picky, like I was." She pressed on, undeterred, her gaze sweeping the room as if confiding in us all. "Oh, I don't doubt it. But remember Cousin Clara? Her boy was the same. Wild. Until she set those firm rules. You're so flexible, Maya. It's admirable, really, in this busy world. Flexible." The word twisted, implying spineless, her tone polite as ever, drawing the family into complicity with nods and hums. Leo shifted, his eyes flicking to me, then away, the illusion of our calm evening fraying at the edges. On the sideboard, the old family photo frame caught the light, its edges worn, the glass cracked, but holding the image of us all together, smiles frozen from a decade ago. I stared at it, my chest tightening, fear blooming like doubt in the pit of my stomach. Would speaking shatter it further? Or was silence the real fracture? Julian squeezed my hand harder, his voice cutting in smoothly. "Maya's got it handled. She's the heart of this. Always has been." His words parted the haze, a subtle line drawn, but the room hummed on, politeness curdling into something sharper, unspoken questions lingering in the air. The dim light of our kitchen lamp cast long shadows across the cluttered counter, where half-empty mugs of tea sat cooling like forgotten promises. I slumped in the wooden chair, my shoulders heavy with the weight of years unspoken, and finally let the words spill out. Julian sat across from me, his eyes steady, hands folded, not interrupting, just witnessing, like he always did when the storm in me needed room to brew. "It started small, Jules," I said, my voice frayed at the edges, exhaustion pulling at every syllable. "Remember Aunt Isabella's birthday last spring? She pulled me aside, all smiles, and said, 'Maya, darling, you're so brave, raising little Emma, without all that fuss your mother did. Not everyone can handle the chaos, like I could.' It sounded like praise, but it twisted the knife, implying I'm barely scraping by, that Emma's energy is some burden I shouldn't complain about. And then, 2 weeks ago at the park picnic, she jokingly told Leo in front of everyone that my meal preps are adorable attempts at health food, like I'm playing house instead of actually caring for my family. I paused, rubbing my temples, the weariness settling deeper, a fog that blurred the line between memory and nightmare. Julian nodded, his silence an anchor, urging me on without pushing. I reached for the drawer beside me, fingers brushing the locked diary I'd hidden there for months, its brass clasp unyielding, a silent vault of scribbled hurts I'd never dared unlock in front of anyone. Not yet. "These aren't isolated, are they?" I continued, voice trembling as the pieces clicked. "Last Christmas, she questioned why I switched Emma's school, saying it was ungrateful to ignore family advice. And the calls, endless check-ins, that end with her sighing about how disappointing it is when young parents don't listen. It's a pattern, Jules. Subtle sabotage, chipping away, until I doubt my own choices." He leaned forward then, his hand covering mine, warm and real against the chill in my chest. "You're seeing it clearly now," he said softly. "And I'm here. We document it. Dates, words, all of it. You're not imagining this." The fear lingered, though, that if I spoke louder, I'd be the one labeled hysterical, fracturing the fragile peace we'd all pretended at. But in his gaze, something shifted in me, from the numb drag of endurance to a quiet resolve, like the first crack of dawn through fog. How do I prove this without shattering everything? The diary sat there, locked, waiting for the key. I remember that afternoon in the backyard, the sun slanting through the oak leaves like fractured light on a stage. Leo and I were alone for once. The family chatter muffled inside the house after another lunch that left me hollow. He fiddled with an old photo frame on the picnic table, the one with our extended clan grinning from a long-ago reunion. It was cracked down the middle, the glass spider-webbed but holding, the smiles on either side pulling in opposite directions. "Maya," he started, his voice low, eyes on the frame, like it might shatter if he looked up. "I've been seeing it too. The way Aunt Isabella twists things. Those little digs at your choices. The way she makes you second-guess everything. It's not right." He paused, fingers tracing the divide in the glass. "But if I say something, it'll blow up. Mom, Dad, they'll side with her. Family's all we've got, you know. The ties that bind." His words hung there, a confession wrapped in fear. I felt the uncertainty coil in my chest. That familiar waver. Speak now, or swallow it again. Leo leaned forward, his face a mirror of my own doubts. Eyebrows knit, jaw tight. "What about you? What's worth more? These bonds we've always leaned on, or holding on to who you are? I mean, how much are you willing to lose to keep the peace?" The question landed like a stone in still water, rippling through me. The photo's split smile stared back, half the family frozen in oblivious joy, the other half shadowed. I thought of Julian's quiet encouragement last night. The diary I'd cracked open for the first time in years. No accusations, no demands, just the raw edge of choice. My hands trembled on the table, but something shifted. The uncertainty ebbed, hardening into a tense resolve, like steel cooling in fire. "I don't know yet," I said finally, meeting his gaze. "But pretending it's not breaking us? That's losing already." Leo nodded, slow, the air between us thickening with unspoken alliance. The frame sat there, divided, but intact. For now, I sit cross-legged on the worn rug in our study, the air thick with the scent of old paper and dust motes dancing in the late afternoon light. My fingers tremble as I unlock the diary, that small, leather-bound relic from my teenage years, its clasp rusted but unyielding, like the secrets it guards. Julian watches from the doorway, his presence a quiet anchor, but I wave him in closer. "I need to do this," I murmur, my voice heavy with the exhaustion that's been my companion for too long. The weight of it presses on my chest, a bone-deep fatigue from years of swallowing words, of watching my edges blur under others' touch. The pages crackle open, and I'm 9 again, or maybe 12. Time folds like origami in memory. There I am, huddled in Aunt Isabella's guest room during a family visit, her perfume cloying as she helps me pick an outfit for the barbecue. "Oh, Maya, sweetie, that color washes you out. Let me choose. You want to look your best, don't you? For the family." Her hands rifling through my drawer, boundaries dissolving like sugar in tea. I remember the heat rising in my throat, the plea unspoken. "Stop. This is mine." But I nodded, let her dress me like a doll, because saying no felt like shattering the fragile peace. Vulnerability floods back now, sharp as a fresh cut. That same hollow ache in my gut, the fear that pushing back would make me the villain, the ungrateful one unraveling the threadbare tapestry of us. Another entry, scribbled in angry loops, the time she, jokingly, shared my private school crush with the whole dinner table, her laughter ringing like bells while my face burned. Isn't she just precious, keeping secrets? We all know how these things go. Everyone chuckled, but I felt stripped, exposed, my inner world invaded without a knock. The patterns leap out now, stark against the yellowed paper, the same subtle encroachments, the concern that always carried a hook. Tiredness drags at me, a tide pulling me under. Why did I let it happen? Why does it still? Julian kneels beside me, his hand warm on my shoulder. I've read enough of these with you to see it, Maya. This isn't just the past. It's what they're doing now. To you, to us. But you know the truth. I'm here, all in. His words cut through the fog, steady as a heartbeat. Something shifts inside me, a spark igniting amid the weariness. These memories aren't chains anymore. They're fuel. The voice of that scared girl rises, not in whispers, but demanding. No more. The truth about the pain glimmers on the page, raw and unfiltered, revealing how silence hasn't preserved peace. It's been rotting it from within, letting the cracks widen until the whole frame threatens to collapse. I close the diary, but not before tracing the lock one last time. How will these echoes help me finally say, enough today? The question lingers, unanswered, but alive, as resolve hardens in my veins, propelling me forward. The dim glow of the desk lamp pooled over scattered notepads, casting long shadows across our kitchen table. I sat hunched, fingers tracing the edges of my locked diary, the one I'd kept hidden for years, its key dangling like a guilty secret from my necklace. Exhaustion clawed at me, a bone-deep weariness from dredging up Isabella's barbs, each one a fresh wound reopened. Julian, what if this just turns into me yelling, spilling everything like some bitter rant? My voice cracked, the fear twisting inside. All this pain, bottled up, ready to erupt into accusations that would shatter us further. He leaned forward, his hand steady on mine, eyes patient as he flipped open a fresh page. We're not yelling, Maya. We're mapping it. Facts first, dates, words. Let them speak. He wasn't pushing. He was anchoring, his quiet observation pulling me from the chaos. I nodded, reluctant, and started with the dinner last spring. April 15th, she said, "Oh, Maya, you're so brave letting the kids run wild like that. Not like when I raised mine. Structure saves them from themselves." The words tumbled out, laced with the old hurt, but Julian jotted them down methodically. Date, quote, context. No judgment, just the stark lines forming a timeline. As we moved to the summer barbecue, June 22nd, she cornered me by the grill. "Your outfits are cute, but darling, with your figure, bolder colors might help you stand out more." The fog in my chest began to lift. My memories, once a swirling mess of doubt, sharpened into evidence. I glanced at the diary, its lock glinting. With a deep breath, I slipped the key in, the click echoing like permission. Pages fluttered open, revealing scribbled vents I'd never shared. "See? It's all here," I murmured, handing him a passage. "Not just feelings, proof." Julian's pen paused, his gaze meeting mine with that unwavering trust we'd built through quieter nights. "This isn't blame, love. It's your voice, structured. We're co-writing the script for that meeting." The weight shifted. Exhaustion ebbed into something resolute, a collected intent humming beneath my skin. We cataloged 3 more incidents: the passive digs at my parenting, the concerned texts undermining my choices, each entry a brick in a wall of clarity. No hasty finger-pointing, just unignorable truth emerging from the silence. By the time we closed the notebook, the room felt less claustrophobic. The diary splayed open like an unlocked heart. But as I stared at our list, the question lingered, unspoken. Could owning this pain forge a plan that healed, or would it still ignite the explosion I'd always feared? The living room felt smaller than ever, the air thick with the scent of cooling coffee and unspoken histories. I stood in the center, my hands clasped, to keep them from trembling. As relatives trickled in, cousins on the worn couch, aunts murmuring in the kitchen doorway, Leo hovering by the window like he might bolt. Julian sat beside me on the armchair, his knee pressed against mine, a quiet promise. It landed like a wedge, making her question me right there at the table. My voice cracked, but I pushed through, the tiredness ebbing into something sharper, a resolve hardening in my core. And the time at the park, when you pulled Leo aside and whispered about how Julian and I spoil the kids compared to your perfect way, it plants doubt, erodes trust. I've felt it for years, the way concern twists into control, making me smaller in my own family. Isabella's smile faltered, her fingers twisting a napkin. Maya, darling, I only meant— No, I cut in, not angry, just clear, my posture straightening as resolve flooded me, washing away the haze. Julian's hand found mine, squeezing, steady, unyielding. I need you to hear this. Silence isn't protecting us. It's letting these moments fester, turning gatherings into minefields. I want respect for my choices as a parent, for our boundaries. No more comparisons disguised as care. Our family deserves better than illusions. The room hung heavy. Leo nodded slowly, his eyes meeting mine with a flicker of alliance. A cousin murmured agreement, while an uncle looked away, siding with the old ways. Isabella's face tightened, defensiveness cracking her charm. This could tear us apart, she said softly. But I saw the fear there, hers, mirroring mine. Could it? The photo frame caught the light, its breaks glinting like warnings. I held Julian's hand tighter, my heart steady now, even as the air hummed with the risk of fracture. Unity or truth, which would bend first? The family room felt smaller than ever, the air thick with the scent of cooling coffee and unspoken accusations. I stood at the center, my voice steady for the first time, laying out the timeline Julian and I had pieced together. Every backhanded compliment, every helpful intrusion that chipped away at my edges. Isabella's face, usually a mask of polished concern, cracked open like the frayed family photo frame on the mantel behind her. It teetered there, the glass spider-webbed from some long-ago bump, holding our smiling faces in a brittle embrace. You think I'm sabotaging you? Isabella's voice started soft, almost surprised, her eyes widening as if I'd slapped her. The room went still. Aunt Clara shifted in her chair. Uncle Tom cleared his throat. For a beat, it was just shock rippling through her, her hands fluttering to her chest like a bird trapped in a cage. But then the surprise twisted, sharpening into something raw, anxiety clawing up her throat, making her words tumble out faster, edged with desperation. I've always been the one holding this family together, she burst, leaning forward, her rings glinting under the lamp. Your mother, God rest her, left you to me when things fell apart. I stepped in because someone had to. Boundaries, that's just code for pushing me away, for saying I'm not needed anymore. Her gaze darted to the photo frame, and she reached back, fingers brushing the cracked edge as if to steady herself. It wobbled, a shard of glass catching the light, mirroring the fracture in her composure. If you set these walls up, Maya, what am I? Just some meddling old woman? I've sacrificed everything, my time, my peace, to keep us from splintering. Without me guiding you, who knows what chaos you'd bring on that child of yours. I felt a pull, the old guilt tugging like a current. But I didn't apologize this time. The truth sat heavy in my chest, empowering, a quiet fire that held me upright. It's not about you not being needed, Isabella. It's about my family, my choices, being mine. My words hung there, firm, No retreat. Leo broke the silence first, his voice low but clear from across the room. She's right, Aunt Izzy. We've all seen it. The advice that turns into control. It's time we stop pretending it's care. Murmurs rippled. Clara nodded slowly. Tom looked away, sides forming in the hush. Isabella's anxiety spiked, her breath quickening, eyes glistening as she clutched the frame tighter, the wood creaking under her grip. "This will tear us apart," she whispered, voice breaking. But I wondered, standing there amid the tension, could I finally be heard without shattering everything we'd pretended to hold dear? The air in the living room hung thick, like the humid breath before a storm, as Maya's words settled over the family, like dust from a shaken rug. I sat there, spine straight against the worn couch, my voice still echoing. This isn't about blame, it's about trust. We've let these little cuts fester too long. Isabella's eyes narrowed, her charm cracking like thin ice. But before she could spin another web of concern, Leo cleared his throat. He wasn't one for spotlights, my cousin Leo, always the quiet observer in the corner, nursing his coffee like it held secrets. But now he leaned forward, elbows on knees, and fixed his gaze on the frayed family photo frame on the mantel, the one with its silver edges chipped from years of hasty grabs, holding our smiles in a grip that felt more desperate than proud. "I've seen it too," Leo said, his voice steady, not loud, but cutting through the murmurs like a knife through fog. Heads turned. Uncle Ray paused mid-sip. Aunt Clara's fingers twisted her necklace. Maya's not imagining this. The comments, the advice that always lands like a dig. I laughed it off for years, told myself it was just family quirks. But loyalty? Real loyalty isn't blind. It's choosing to call out the rot before it spreads. He glanced at me, a nod so subtle it was almost a secret. But it hit like sunlight breaking clouds. Agreement bloomed in my chest first, warm and validating, mirroring the truth I'd carried alone. Then it hardened into something fiercer, determination, a quiet fire that said, I wasn't standing here solo anymore. Isabella shifted, her lips parting for a retort. But Leo pressed on, turning to the room. We've all played along, keeping the peace by pretending. But what's the cost? If we choose silence now, we're choosing to let this fracture us deeper. The room pulsed with it, the dominant pull of choice, hanging unspoken. Ray's brow furrowed. Clara's eyes darted to the photo frame as if it might crack further under the weight. Would they step into the light, acknowledge the patterns without clinging to the old facade of unity? Or would they retreat, preserving the illusion at the expense of us all? I felt the shift, tentative but real, as whispers rippled. Leo had bridged the gap, his words a pivot that forced the mirrors to turn inward. My fear ebbed, replaced by resolve. This was our new phase, honesty echoing where silence once reigned. The frame on the mantel caught the light, its cracks glinting, not broken, but bearing witness. I stand in the living room, the frayed family photo frame on the mantel catching the late afternoon light, its cracks like veins under porcelain skin. The air hums with the weight of words just spoken, my words, finally, unchained. Aunt Isabella sits rigid on the edge of the couch, her manicured hands twisted in her lap, eyes darting like she's mapping escape routes. Leo leans forward in his chair, his usual hesitation cracked open, nodding as if he's seeing me for the first time. The others, cousins, uncles, hover in a loose semicircle, faces a mosaic of discomfort and dawning unease. I've let this go on too long, I say, my voice steady, though my pulse thunders in my ears. No accusations, just the raw edge of truth. The comments that cut, the advice that dismisses my choices as a mother, the way concern twists into control. It's poison, this space. From now on, we talk straight. No more undermining. If you can't respect our boundaries, you step back until you can. Isabella's lips part, a protest bubbling, but it dies as Leo cuts in. She's right, Aunt Izzy. I've watched it erode us all. Maya's not asking for a war, just room to breathe. His support lands like a lifeline, pulling the room's energy from brittle alienation towards something tentative, like frost thawing under sun. Julian's hand finds mine, warm and unyielding, his thumb tracing a quiet circle on my skin. In that touch, I feel the vow we made last night, whispered in the dim glow of our bedroom. I'll stand with you, no matter the fallout. We're building this sanctuary together. It's not just words, it's the anchor that got me here, voicing the invisible walls I've rebuilt around my heart, my home, my kids. Fear lingers, a shadow at the edges. Will this shatter us for good? But as nods ripple through the group, cautious eyes meeting mine, a fragile hope stirs. Healing won't be swift. It'll be stitched in silences broken and mended. I squeeze Julian's hand, choosing this path, boundaries firm as the door I now hold open, but on my terms. How do we guard what's ours without the rift widening? The question hangs, unanswered, as the light shifts brighter.